Welcome to The Explainer. Whenever I look up at a massive skyscraper, I always wonder, how does that thing actually stay standing? With all the wind and elements, it's crazy. Well, constructing a piece of rigorous academic research is honestly exactly like building one of those sturdy high-rises. You can't just slap some bricks together and hope for the best, right? You need a rock-solid foundation, precise measurements, and most importantly, an architect's blueprint. So today, we're diving straight into the core challenge of research methodology. We're going to break down exactly how you can blueprint your very own research project to make sure it stands the test of time.
So it all starts with this simple, but honestly, kind of overwhelming question. How do you take a massive, globally complex issue and turn it into a solvable, bite-sized academic puzzle? Well, the secret is something called the funnel concept. Pretty much every great research endeavor starts out feeling unmanageably broad. The trick is, it has to be aggressively narrowed down before you even think about collecting data. You've got to filter out all that noise until you're left with just one laser-focused point of inquiry.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at exactly how we build this structure today. First, we'll go from topic to question. Second, we'll map out the research project process. Third, blueprinting the proposal. Fourth, classifying your research. And finally, number 5, managers and researchers.
First up, Section 1, From Topic to Question.
All right, so pitting a topic is basically this massive process of elimination. You start by analyzing the requirements, reviewing what's already out there in the literature, and hunting for your specific niche. Because let's face it, you can't just study a giant problem like climate change. It's just way too big. Instead, you use a zoom-in technique. You funnel that massive problem down into a highly specific, measurable puzzle. For instance, you go from the entirety of climate change all the way down to something like, how do ozone levels impact global temperature levels? Now that is something you can actually solve.
Now, it is incredibly easy to confuse a research problem with a research question, but separating the two is absolutely vital for your project's success. Think of the research problem as your overarching context, the gap in existing knowledge or that general area of concern that needs addressing. The research question, on the other hand, is your exact tool used to fill that gap. It's a concise, super focused inquiry. The problem shows us the need, but the question, that gives you your target, a clear direction, and something you can explicitly answer through data.
Now, what's really interesting here is when we break down the exact parameters, the shift from a problem to a question becomes super obvious. It's a huge aha moment for a lot of researchers. A problem is general, right? It defines the context and sets a broad scope. But the question has to be highly specific, detailed, and directional. You're basically moving from a general concern about the state of the world straight to the exact, answerable tool that's going to drive your very specific data collection.
Moving right along to Section 2, the research project process.
Think of the entire research process as basically an ascending staircase. And the catch is, every single step completely relies on the stability of the one right before it. You start down at the foundation by identifying a gap in the literature. From there, you step up to choose your methodology, then you secure your proposal and your ethical approvals. Only once that foundation is totally locked in do you step up to the actual research and analysis. And finally, you write up your results and reach the very top with your final submission. If you try to skip a stair anywhere in this process, I guarantee you the whole academic endeavor is going to trip up.
Which brings us to Section 3.
Blueprinting the proposal.
So, formally speaking, a research proposal outlines your plan, your objectives, your methodology, and the significance of your study. But what's really fascinating here is that it serves a dual role. Outwardly, it's your big chance to explain why your project matters to organizations who might want to fund or support it. But inwardly, it acts as a personal roadmap for you, the researcher. It gives you the chance to refine your focus, predict any roadblocks, and chart your progress to make sure everything stays clear and coherent the whole way through.
And to make this blueprint actually viable, you're going to need some essential load-bearing pillars. You absolutely got to have a crystal clear statement of purpose, the background to prove exactly why the study matters, and a rock-solid methodology. Oh, and don't forget, anticipating potential problems and listing your references. Missing literally even one of these components leaves a really dangerous hole in your academic foundation, and that could cause the whole thing to just collapse under scrutiny.
All right, Section 4, classifying your research.
So it turns out there are actually a few distinct ways to classify these blueprints, and it really depends on what kind of structure you're trying to build. For instance, it might depend on who's holding the purse strings. Are you writing a grant proposal to secure government funding, or a dissertation proposal for your grad degree? It also depends a lot on your discipline. Are you running strict empirical experiments in the hard sciences, or are you exploring human behavior over in the social sciences?
And finally, the scope matters. Is this just a small solo side project or a massive multi-year global collaboration?
And this brilliantly illustrates a massive philosophical divide in how we actually approach those classifications. Your underlying belief system totally dictates your blueprint. If you operate under a positivist paradigm, well, you want quantitative absolute facts. You're looking for strict causality drawn from huge samples and rigorous hypothesis testing. But if you take an interpretivist approach, you're looking at the situation qualitatively. You want to understand the depth and the real meaning of a phenomenon using much smaller, highly focused samples. So your core philosophy literally drives your entire methodological structure.
But wait, what happens when a problem is simply too messy or complex for just one of those approaches? Well, as Julie Thompson-Klein points out, interdisciplinarity is how we solve problems that just can't be handled using single methods alone. This perfectly highlights the incredible value of interdisciplinary and applied research. They're the ultimate structural problem solvers, combining multiple fields to tackle messy, real-world issues that absolutely refuse to fit neatly into a single academic box.
Finally, Section 5, Managers and Researchers.
Developing a strong research proposal is almost always a team effort, and understanding the dual roles here is absolutely key to getting your project off the ground. Think of it like this. The manager, or your supervisor, takes on the strategic, big-picture organizational role. They're giving you guidance, crucial context about the industry, access to resources, and the feedback needed to ensure your project aligns with broader goals. The researcher, on the flip side, provides the tactical, academically rigorous execution. They're the ones diving into the literature review and designing the precise methodological framework. It's honestly a perfect partnership of strategy meeting execution.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway we can distill from all of this is beautifully summarized by Munton back in 2001. A well-built research proposal truly is the ultimate blueprint. It is the guiding light that makes sure your efforts are clear, coherent, and structurally sound from the very second you spot a gap in the knowledge all the way to the finish line when you submit your final findings.
The tools are officially in your hands. You know how to funnel your broad topic down into a razor-sharp question. You know the exact staircase you need to climb, the vital components to include, and the methodologies you can deploy. So the only thing left to ask is this. As you sit down to design your next academic project, will your blueprint be strong enough to support the weight of your inquiry? Definitely think about that as you start drafting, and we'll see you on the next explainer.